have your attention, we're going to stand and do the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
After a moment of 10 seconds of silence for the people of Florida and Texas, I'm going to ask Alderman Betts to lead us in prayer.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful for this day that you have given to each of us to live. Grateful for the way that you have watched over us and you have taken care of us. We are mindful of those who have suffered in the last couple of weeks because of storms and natural disasters. And Lord, we pray that you would give peace and comfort. I pray, Lord, that you would supply the needs that I'm sure we're going to need. I ask you, Lord, as we take care of the business of our town tonight, I pray, Lord, that you will give us grace and wisdom. Thank you for all that you do for us and giving us a good place to live and reside. And we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
All right, I'm going to ask Assistant Clerk Jayla Sean to do roll call.
Alderman Betts.
Here.
Alderwoman Dorey.
Present.
Alderman Gardner.
Present.
Alderman McCoy.
Present.
Alderman Probst.
Present.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
Okay. You have the minutes with you there. Not any questions on the minutes? Can I have a motion to accept the minutes from the previous meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion is made by Alderman Dorey, second by Alderman McCoy. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item number one, is we're going to have Ms. Deborah Bolt give us a financial report for July 2017.
Okay, in your packet that I put out today or tonight, I did include the final for
That
June
turned on?
30th.
I'm sorry.
It's on. Okay, can you hear me? I have provided the final financial statement, summary of actual revenues over expenditures as of June 30th for the Board of Aldermen. So this has been submitted to Silas Simmons for their beginning their audit, for this last fiscal year. They were supposed to come today. They did not come. They're supposed to reschedule. I don't know when that is. As of, in my other report I provided is as July 31st, which shows actual revenues of 1.4 and total expenditures of 2.1 for a change in net position of $767,000 loss. This is the first month of the year, so there wouldn't be very much to really talk about. It's pretty just a standard month. Nothing unusual happened. And our budgeted amount totals for the year is a change in net position of $94,040. That's positive. So we've got a ways to go yet.
Any questions? Okay. Moving on, you'll see in your packet we have occupational license. First one on the list is going to be Lancaster General Lab, LLC, Jeff Lancaster owner. Is Jeff here tonight?
Yes, I am.
Hey, Jeff, how you doing? Well,
I'm good, Buzz. How are you?
Doing good, good to see you. Jeff, you want to tell us about what you're going to be doing in your lab?
We're operating out of Dr. Hawkins' office now on 1648 Carter Street. And basically, we run a commercial denture lab, dentures and porcelains. And it's mostly mail order. And we contract with one company called Signage, and they work out of 13 states. In those 13 states, we have 2, Louisiana and South Carolina. I have three employees, 2 part-time. We've been over here about 3 weeks now, and we're very pleased to be here. I'm grateful that y'all have us.
Well, good. Thank you for choosing today. We appreciate it very much.
Yes,
Any
sir.
questions? Here, motion we accept that occupational license. Motion made by Alderman McCoy, second by Alderman Gardner. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next we have 605 LLC doing business as DK Food Mart, Janyavi Josie?
Yes, sir.
Is that, did I say that okay? I'm sorry, I didn't butcher your name too bad. did I?
Yeah, Vinyari Joshi.
Can you tell us a little bit about your,
Sorry.
pardon? Can you tell us a little bit about your business? I know
Yeah.
it's just a change of ownership, but you're doing the food mart there in the corner?
Yeah, we have food mart and convenience store and liquor store, beer, smoke, everything.
Any questions? She's also applying for a liquor and alcohol beer permit. Pardon? The old Continental store, is that the one it is, the old Continental? Okay. Pardon?
Signs for either.
Are your sign, are you gonna be changing your signs? Your
No, I
signs
didn't get
just stay the same?
No. That's fine, it's okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? We'll also let it be noted that we'll be also they're accepting their liquor and beer permit. Any other questions? It looks like Scott Nakamore has made application for all the necessary documentation of the permit.
I make the motion, we accept this.
A motion made by Alderman Dorey, we have a second. Second by Alderman Probst, all in favor? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, number 3 is Gloria's Hot Tamales, Gloria Mason. Is Gloria here today? All right, so she, evidently she's making hot tamales. Anybody get, location is 707 Carter Street. So any questions on that? Do we have a motion to accept this?
Where is that? I'm not located, where is
I
it?
think it's a little bit right beside Perfect Nails,
Okay.
across the creek and Pine Street.
Okay.
Okay.
Your sign application here, so none of this business is on something.
Okay, Alderman Best said that they just picked up their sign application, and of course, we would be coming back for signing it and get approval at the next meeting. I assume it's all right. Or, if you want, I mean, if you want to accept it without seeing it, I mean, of course, we can email it to you, if you, but I would think that we accept their occupational license and maybe phone call you when we get it, send you a rough draft, let you look at it. Okay. All right, so I hear a motion, we accept the occupational license. Motion made by Alderman Coy.
Second.
Second by Alderman Dorey, all in favor? Okay. Next item. As many people know, we're finally going to get John Dale Drive, the sewage project, what it's called. You know that we have a sinkhole that developed in the road there, and it's taking time to go through the necessary steps to get this permitted, from what I understand. And all that's been done, and the bids have been let. And the bids were opened last week, last Thursday. The bids turned in were one was from Greenbrier Digging Service LP. I think they're out of Brookhaven, is that correct? It was $47,940. And a local contractor, Camo Construction Company, was $57,663.76. So what I'd like to do is we award the bid for the repairs and get. I know everybody's ready to get that street back open. So do I hear a motion that we award this bid for the lowest bidder? Motion made by Alderman McCoy, second by Alderman Gardner. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, now, what I'm gonna need is also, Lee, if you want to speak at this time, we just want to get board approval for you to start seeking bids.
Right, we have one of our garbage trucks that's gonna be rolling off the lease in about 6 months. Takes about 5 to 6 months. The actual, last time we leased one, it was about 8 months. We had to actually extend our lease. But it takes about 6 months to bid the truck out. So this is about the time that we usually put out for bids for the truck, so for a new lease.
And basically what I need from the board is, unless they have some questions about it, is a motion for us to approve us to seek those bids for the new garbage truck, and we will be presenting those bids at some point in the future when we, as he receives those bids.
Was this included in the budget that we approved?
Yes, that payment.
Make that motion.
Motion made by Alderman Probst, second by Alderman McCoy, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, now, what we have is a list of city vehicles, and I'm going to seek board approval to sell these vehicles. I'll call them out, and there's some real gems. The street department has three. One is a 2006 Ford F-350 van. One is a 1997 Ford F-250 pickup, and a 1994 Chevrolet pickup. And Mark, you can attest these vehicles are not running, is that correct? Oh, Lee, I'm sorry.
Yeah, our van does run, transmission's shot. The F-250 barely runs, and the other one does not run. So,
The IT department has two vehicles, a 2002 Chevrolet Ventura van, and that's the green one everybody's been looking at and worried about outside, and the 1998 Ford F-250 pickup. And then the convention center has one that you've been seeing set out on the bridge for a long time, the 1998 GMC Sierra pickup. So, I'd like to get approval for us to receive bids on these. Any questions?
Are we replacing all of these vehicles?
I would say that we have replaced maybe, Ms. Corrine, we have replaced maybe one or two, but we've gone to surplus and we've found some excellent, buys on some vehicles that, I know the IT center gotten one. Bobby, you want to do
Yeah,
one?
we replaced the green Chevrolet van. When it died, we got the green Ford F-250, and it lasted for a little while. Now it was on its last leg when we got it, and we have since purchased in our new budget.
Up taking the packing and being honest. Right. I'm just being honest with you.
And the money, we did have that in our budget to
Right.
replace the vehicle this year.
And Mark, Lee, have we replaced any of those yet?
No.
We have not, okay. And those and I don't think we did anything with the one on the convention center as well, so.
Yeah.
Can I get approval to put those out for bid?
Isn't it three more, PD, don't you have? Chief, you don't have any down? I can make that motion.
All right, motion made by Alderman McCoy, second by Alderman Probst, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. And a topic that we've been working on for a while, we have two properties that the town owns that we feel like they're just not give us any good, anything that we need them for. It's a property on 102 John Dale Drive, which is a lot, and then 2074 Eleanor Street. What we've done, we're basically amending an ordinance that we have approved earlier. And we're basically deleting the previous requirement that the bids must be equal to or higher than the appraised value. We had two people show up, and none of them were willing to pay that. So what we've done, we're reintroducing, this is tonight, will be the adoption of an ordinance, and we're just going to receive bids. I think that was what we finally decided to do, was to just receive those bids. So at this time, we have to go in a public meeting, and you get time to have you respond. And so do I hear a motion to go into public meeting to discuss this? Motion made by Alderman Gardner,
Second.
second by Alderman Gloria, all in favor? Okay, we are now in public meeting. Any questions on the two properties?
When will they be willing to bid on? When does the bidding start?
Say that again.
On the properties, when will they be able to start bidding on?
We have to re-advertise, is that correct?
2 times.
Council, we will re-advertise. If this is adopted tonight, we'll have to advertise 2 times, and what we will do is open up bids, if that's what council wants to do tonight, or we can try to do an auction starting at a lower price and move up and do an auction. That's kind of, is that right, council? We can do either one?
Either one.
And it's whatever they want. If it's by bid, what I'll do is open the bids at the next meeting. And if not, what we'll do is have an auction here at a specified date when we advertise. And that will be established tonight by what they want to do. My recommendation is, I would do an auction. That's just my recommendation. But there's pros and cons to either. There's not an easy answer to that.
Well, nothing has worked so far, so we accept your idea. We accept that.
Well, I mean, and now, and of course, the auction is gonna be, do y'all want to still have the board have approval, final say on what the auction price is? I mean, what it comes in at? Is that possible, council? For example, if the auction comes in at $5,000 the house property. I mean, we have the right to reject that, or is that an absolute?
Never having done an auction myself, it seemed like to me if you wanted to set some kind of minimum bid at the auction, but before we had an appraised bid and that didn't work.
We're still in public. Is somebody even here to food and houses want to have a recommendation elsewhere for this?
It seems like to me it'd be easy to bid it.
To bid it?
I think it would, but
You can still set a minimum.
Still set it up. That's what we're going to have to do.
Oh, yeah.
put a minimum.
Put a minimum to do that.
I would say put a minimum of 15,000 on the house, a minimum of 1,000 on the property, and this, on the lot, and start from there. The appraisal on the house was 35,000, and on the lot it was 3,500, I think. So if y'all want to bump it up from that, we might be doing this again.
If you auction it, you're done. If you just have an auction, everybody's there and you're done. You have to read bids, get them out, and go over it again.
We can set a 15,000 minimum on the auction and start it at that. If you know, that will make it.
We got to close.
We get out
the
to
public
close the public hearing.
All right, any other question from the public?
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion made by Alderman McCoy to close public hearing. A second.
Second.
Second by Alderman Dory, all in favor?
Aye.
Now,
I'd like to make a motion that we do an auction. Accept your recommendation.
we accept it for $15,000 get started.
And get started.
And on 1,000 on the lot, $1,000 on the lot, 1,500, y'all want to do 1,500 on the lot? Okay, $1,500. Motion's made that we do an auction. Minimum start price of the Eleanor Street property will be $15,000, and on the John Dale lot, it will be $1,500.
Was there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Dory. All in favor? Aye. Hopefully we'll have this done by this week. So therefore, Alderman Best pointed out, we do have an ordinance in place to do this, so do we need to make a motion to do? We've made a motion to have what we're going to do on that. Now we need to approve the ordinance itself. Is that correct?
I make a motion that we change the ordinance to reflect the board's new suggestion.
Okay.
Second.
Second, Alderman.
The ordinance is to amend the prior two ordinances to delete the requirement that the sale be at the appraised value or higher. So you can sell it at less than the appraised value.
Okay.
That's what that's the ordinance is about.
Right.
Had nothing to do with what we did with the auction and things.
Right. So we have a motion for that, and I think that's what Alderman Dory was trying to do, is
Okay.
make a motion to accept this ordinance. Second?
Second.
Second, by Alderman Carter, all in favor? Okay, thank you, Councilman.
Perfect.
Okay, item number 7, moving right along. On our blighted properties, is Hugh Sherrill here? Is Ms. Walker here? Okay. On our blighted properties ordinance, and Bill knows more than I think, so council is. Bill, would you like to elaborate a little bit about the ordinance?
I'll just let you know how this developed. In our meetings, of course, we've designated properties, we've done inspections and everything, and Hugh Sherrill, after being appointed, was going over the ordinances and found that the option to appeal any hearing officer's ruling says you appeal it to the court, district court of East Baton Rouge Parish, which that was a type, that was a plug, you know. So we had to change it, we gotta change that. At the same time, she checked state regulations, and George, would you go over those two? You've got copies of the two paragraphs, and it's under hearing officer and hearings, when it says, let me get it in front of you, give me a piece of paper. Okay, when it says section B, it's section B under hearing officer and hearings, I believe. Isn't that right, George?
Yes.
And if you want to go over the paragraphs as far as what it's doing, actually what it's doing is basically changing the 15 days and paragraph C to 30 days, and down below in paragraph H changes the 14 days to 30 days, which is in accordance with state statute. There's some other little minor changes of language. George, if you don't mind elaborating, if you got something you want to say, stop me. But that's basically
What he said. But otherwise, there's also the fact that they cited East Baton Rouge Parish as being the place to sue in this case, and she changed it to Concordia Parish.
So those are the changes. Then we can proceed.
Now, if you'd like, what's going to be required is an ordinance similar to the one on the Ellen Street properties. It'll be a shorter ordinance which will amend those sections mentioned that you've got in front of you. To delete the ones in the old ones and to replace them with these paragraphs. We don't have that ready for tonight, but if it's the board's wish, we can introduce that tonight, and I will go ahead and prepare one and have it for publication appropriately timed so that you would consider the ordinance at the October meeting.
Any questions?
We need to make a motion on that, or do you just?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, make a motion if we let George prepare that.
To revise the current ordinance to be in accordance with what our hearing officer feels like it should be. Okay. Second by Alderman Gardner, motion made by Alderman Probst, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Number 8, is moving signs identifying our riverfront, our businesses on our riverfront. Many of you know that we've been having some of the businesses are really struggling to deal with the bridge closings and so forth. And especially in the evening, those businesses are really suffering. For example, there's no way that you can see where you turn in right there off Park Street, where you go by the fountain. Somebody that might be a traveler is going to go come to the hospital there, or go to the Comfort Suites, or go to the tourist information. They actually almost go by that little turnoff, they turn in to go there if it's not properly identified. I've been approached by several people that want to, Comfort Suites is one, also our riverfront itself, our convention center, and the tourist information center. We're going to look at maybe moving some of our signs that are maybe up here on the old railroad spur, and maybe changing an arrow around. They're not advertisement signs, they're directional signs directing people to our riverfront and to and the other businesses that are along the river itself. And I basically wanted to get any kind of feedback from the council, or if somebody has the same feeling I do, that those businesses are hurting because they've got those barriers all the way extended up close to past Nicky's restaurant, even to the Be Quick there. So that's what I wanted to do, that we're going to be looking at maybe moving some of those signs. I wouldn't have a problem with us. We can probably move those ourselves, and just, so I just want to get people's feelings on it.
So you discussed with me about DOT and all, because where you want to place them is on.
Right.
The highway department has to approve the fact that we can even move them, right?
Right, that's one thing I will do before we move them, is get approval from MDOT or LDOT.
Yeah, they all have to be permitted, Mayor.
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying, we'll move forward based on permitting from that and approval from them. I get approval to move forward on that. We want to do that sooner than later.
Amy from LDOT is already she's already been down and looked, and she is already going to place a sign for the Tourist Information Center. After looking at it, because that's a state business, that one's going to be placed by the state. But she wasn't able to do it for any of the other ones because their business is not state managed.
Can I ask a question? I haven't been on any conversations, Molly. it's just temporary while the bridge work's being done, right?
That's correct. This is just temporary to identify, especially at night, because people that might to go to our riverfront at night, you get past that, you're going to Natchez, you're going to Mississippi, and you're probably not coming back across that river bridge, probably not. So I can understand their dilemma, and I certainly want to help them any way we
The
can.
only other thing I can think about, excuse me, there, is riverfront, we're talking about riverfront, but I do know one other business who has a problem with the identification to get into theirs, and that's Johnny Mays. I don't know if what you're talking about, whether you extend it to something like that or not, but.
And this would require, I would also go and discuss all those businesses along there and just get their input.
Well, that new place would be read from both directions, coming from Natchez and going to Natchez.
That's correct. And that, again, this would be temporary. This isn't a permanent sign. It's just during this rough time that they're having it. Now, I don't think there's any kind of action items other than just getting approval from y'all saying, let's do that, let's investigate it and see what we do. But again, sooner than later is going to really help these, because I know some of them are really struggling, and this is hurt.
Let's investigate it. There's a number of wrecks that's happening on the Natchez side, just from that emerging traffic. And that right turn coming off that bridge, it comes real quick when you don't know where it is. And I don't know whether the sign help that at night versus going down Martin Luther King, taking left on Wilson, and back down Riverside.
That's true.
That's tough. That's a tough turn.
I agree. It's all tough.
You get across that bridge, like you said, you get people turn in, because they got it blocked just like they do our first exit. You get in there, travel trails, some of the people trying to go there, they get hung up in there because they can't go nowhere, because they can't back out and they can't go forward. It is bad.
We're certainly going to reach out to MDOT and LDOT to make sure that we get, permitted and what we can do, what we can't do, then I'm going to go to the businesses. But if I can get y'all permission to go to them and see what we can do, maybe phone poll you, whatever, tell you what we can do, to start giving them some relief as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
Y'all okay with that?
We need a resolution.
Do we need a resolution?
Just a motion.
Huh?
Just a motion.
Just a motion to do
I
that?
make a motion to proceed, investigate.
Investigate. Motion made by Alderman Probst, do I have a second? Second by Alderman McCoy, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Lee, you and I start on that as soon as possible. And we need to coordinate this with Joey as well. Okay, moving to, I have given to the alderman up here some information. This is it. Maybe ask what it was about. We don't have ordinances on file.
Mayor,
You skipped
Mayor,
it
skip
on.
number 9.
Did I skip that?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I thought we took that off. Did we take that off?
Yeah, I thought we did.
I thought we,
It's on the agenda.
Oh, we did take it off? You took off something off?
okay. Basically what I'll go ahead and explain what it is. We council advised that we do something, looking at the Riverfront Development Authority and the Vidalia Convention Center. Back when the ordinance was establishing the Riverfront Authority and the relationship between the city and that, established an account that is supposed to be styled a certain way. It's got to be at the bank headed up that way. It's never been actually opened the way that the ordinance called for. Some of the issues with the ordinance were, according to council, some of the work wasn't finished by the attorneys who were handling that initial ordinance. We don't know whether these ordinances were recorded, which was required, and he's going to check into that. Also, we're going to contact the other attorneys to see if they have completed documents of record that they have. Is that correct? Basically?
Correct. Yeah.
And rather than go ahead and do this until we find out that they finished their work on making this a binding and agreement at that time, this was house cleaning that we're doing, some of the things we're pulling up and trying to get cleaned up. It requires me to sign it, and also somebody, the authority from the riverfront to sign as well. Right now, I think it's just one signature, and that's not right. We want to do it right. Because the ordinance calls for a representative of the convention, of the Riverfront Authority to sign on that particular account with me. And we're just going to do house, cleaning up our paperwork. We just need to verify it. But the council recommended until we verify those things to strike this. So, I mean, that's.
I make the motion, we table this until the investigation has been completed.
Motion second by Alderman Gardner, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now, I'll hold this up. We have reached out, we know that the town is out of compliance, we don't have an ordinance on file establishing what we charge customers for, different rates for whatever it might be, sewer, water, gas, electricity, and that is something that we've got to get done. As soon as I took office, legal started asking us we need to do that. That never was done in the past. They kept requesting that. And they compiled some ordinances from different municipalities that deal with the complete ordinances that establish those rates for all of our utility, all of our enterprise services that we provide, gas, water, electricity, sewer. And also there's several things in here that establishes, the things that we're discussing as far as home-based commercial business, getting an occupational license. It establishes how you handle those. So I've gotten all these ordinances and I've given those to the alderman tonight. And I hope that we can meet within the next month and discuss these at length and start formulating our own ordinance and to cover everything that's handles that we deal with on our enterprise services for our town. This will get us in compliance that we need to do. It needs to be done badly. So this is just for information tonight. I hope you read them and look at it because we want everybody to participate. And I'm asking them to do that, and we'll come back to the people with an ordinance we hope that we can get adopted. Okay? Any questions on that? Okay. All right. Now some good news. Been waiting for this. Of course, everybody knows that we have recently held our hydro royalty meetings. We had our public meetings. We heard input from you, the people. Each of the aldermen have had their discussions and opinions of what they want to do. With the excess royalties, which we can rebate up to 50% of, and also the handling of those. And we have going to try to make that decision tonight of how much to rebate. Just a real quick recap. The royalty was total was $11,760,000 with the interest. We had to start deducting things that you buy, your power costs. We had the loan coming out of it at that point. We'll discuss that later on. The reserve requirement, 38 mills, which is in the ordinance. I don't want to get into these meetings that we already talked about. And it left an available amount that we could take half of $886,000. The council wanted to add back the $314,000 payments that we were paying the USDA for this municipal complex, fire station, municipal, city hall, and police department. And if you add that back, it makes available 1.2 million total surplus that you can rebate up to half, which is right at $600,000. So that's what's on the table tonight. If it's the council's wish, we can rebate all of it, or whatever percentage they want to rebate. So this will be council to discuss that at this point, and I'll be glad to listen and let's open it up for discussion.
I say we rebate maximum allowable in check form.
And I totally agree.
Any other questions? Any other recommendations?
Is that a motion?
Got a motion?
I make a motion that we rebate the maximum allowable amount in check form.
And I second that motion.
Second by Alderman Garner, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now, some bookkeeping. We've already contacted the utility providers that provide our software. Jay's been talking with them at length, and we were hoping for this result. We're going to do this on an annual basis. We're going to have these meetings and discuss these and let you be aware and take part in this. Now, keep in mind that this leaves over available some money that we have to come back if we want to spend any of the city part of that money. We have to come back to you and make requests as far as capital projects. So be looking in the near future. We may be coming back to ask you for the city part of it, some things we want to do with that. So that might be coming up pretty quick as we start moving along. But we want to make sure we get these checks out as soon as we can. I'm being ambitious and saying November sometime, for sure by the end of the year. So I hope that's not too bad, because I think everybody's happy that we've been able to take the town from where it was to where it's at now and starting to give rebates back to the people. So,
Buzz, to make sure people understand that timing is to get the interface, if I'm sure, with the software and our computer system be able to print out the checks. We got to get that implemented.
and also, we will probably need to establish an account, which I'll be coming to y'all probably the next meeting, and maybe establishing some kind of rebate account, so we can account for outstanding checks and have an accounting for it. Now, we begin with Deborah and Jay on that, to set that up, in which depository institution, we can set those accounts up, because we do need to account for those funds. Now, one thing I would like to make a note of, and I would like just to, this is not, I don't want to, we don't need action on it, but we might before we get the checks. One of the things it says in the ordinance is, anyone in arrears, you know, your account will be offset by that. So if somebody's out there with a utility bill that they're behind on, that account is going to be offset by that. And maybe if there's a check sufficient after their rearage is brought up, then they would get the balance. You know, so that's why we want to make sure we keep all this separate and handling this. But the other thing to keep in mind is arrearages. Do we want to go somebody who's 5 days late on their payments, 30, 20 days, 15 days, you see what I'm going. So that's one thing that didn't establish in the ordinance, was what constitutes that arrearage. How far does, and this is just discussion amongst y'all, what y'all feel like would be that should be applied to that person's account.
I think 30 days, I mean, 5 days, they might just be running back up.
30 days.
Penalty period, I think, is 7 or 8
10 days grace period, I think.
The penalties.
The grace period.
I thought it was, and it might be 5 days, I'm not sure. I think it might be 5 days. 5 days, is that what it is?
No more than 10.
We have a couple of months if y'all want to think that over. If you want to.
Well, I want you to start thinking about that, because here's what it's going to cause to be a paperwork nightmare. Is, you know, some people do take that up to the amen moment. I would like to put a little cushion there, because they don't have that check mailed in, and then you didn't do their check, you credited their account, and, you know, maybe put a little buffer in, maybe 15 days, and then they can't have any complaint.
I think we need to talk to our utility systems too.
Yeah, we'll do that. I mean, that's a good point. I mean, but there's not going to be an easy way to do it, because, you know, this will be something we have to manage and do. So, but anyway, this is.
What do you have to do time to respond to for those people?
Okay. Alderman McCoy's asking, what's the total amount allowable?
Well, he comes for those people that, you know, have trouble, you know.
Oh, you're talking from the actual customer? Okay. The actual customer, Alderman McCoy's asking, what is the alderman is asking the question, what is the amount that can be rebated back to, you know, the customer? And I'll read it verbatim. The amount rebated to each class of retail customer shall be determined by applying to the total amount to be rebated the percentage which the gross margin from retail electric sales to each class of customer bears to the total gross margin from all retail sales of electric power. Okay? The determination of the qualification and composition of each class of retail customer shall be made by the mayor and the board of aldermen. This rebate will be based on kilowatt hour usage during the previous calendar year and shall not exceed 50% of each customer's total electric billing during that period. In all cases, the town reserves the right to make such rebate as an offset against any and all amounts due yet from individual customers. So basically, what it's saying is 50% of each customer's total electric billing during that period. So whatever that total bill was during that year, 50% is the maximum allowable rebate.
One other question, Buzz, on that, when we were in the hydro meeting, we talked about the big 5 or big 4 or whatever we got.
Okay.
To get the discount, you need to probably explain that.
Okay. We have industrial customers who already, because of their amount of volume they use, and for example, and they are good customers, like BASF, you know, to have these companies come to your town, to compete with them, you've got to give them a reduced rate, or else they'll go somewhere else and they provide all the jobs and the things that they do. So you give them a reduced rate. So they're discounted already. So I wouldn't include that class in the rebate. And so, and also another thing came up in discussion today, and I thought that the city of Vidalia is a retail customer of our electric. Of course, it's an in and out thing. You know, I don't think we should maybe include the city of Vidalia's utility bills in this. And I don't think it has in the past, but that's just, you know, unless y'all want to include Vidalia a rebate too, but I feel like getting it back to our people is important, so.
No.
Hmm?
No, I don't think we should include.
No, I think that's everybody's consensus. I mean, but it was brought up that the city is a retail purchaser of the power, but it's an in and out deal. Okay, any questions on that? Any more? Anything I left out, Deborah, on that as far as I mean, that's good news, and we'll be, you know, maybe sooner than later, as quick as we can get the determination, we will maybe do, and not pull in an account, but we might do some examples as soon as we can to show that people kind of see what the rebate might be based on their usage and what the total pool winds up being. So just be watching for that in the near future.
Will the cost of the software, the checks, the postage, will that come out of the residents' half, or will that come out of the city's half?
It will come, well, I understand if you read the ordinance, all expenses derived from the hydrant will come out of the top before we ever get there for this year.
That would be associated.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Go to the next question.
Yeah.
Is money in the budget for fixing John Dale Drive? I mean, where is that coming from? I want it fixed.
We will probably have to at some point, I think there's money in the street department for capital outlay. What we'll probably do is use some of that now, and then when we amend our budget with some other things we've got going on, at some point, we'll probably replenish that and make adjustments there this for you. But good question, so. Okay, we're moving right along. Number 12, pre-file ordinance for adoption of city employee handbook. You know, we had a lengthy discussion last time. I would call the Alderman to go to item number 14 where we left off. We got hung up there a little bit. We only had just a couple more things to discuss. Only in the new employee handbook. The last one we had was 1992, and it needs to be brought to the 21st century for sure. And we had a lot of discussion last meeting, and it was tabled when we got to a sticking point dealing with some of the language, dealing with drug testing and so forth. And we have done some work in presenting, if you have any questions on what we're looking at putting into it. Someone would like to, we'll start with, like to pick back up with item number 14.
Will,
Item number 14.
the department heads and the supervisors all kind of stood up at the last meeting, spoke at the last meeting and said that they kind of like it the way it is. And I would think that we would lean towards their experience on that and leave that as is. As far as the time between testing, or after the first failed drug test, it's a probationary period. After the second, for the duration of your employment, it's termination. That's the way all of the department heads seem to agree works best for the town, has always worked best for the town.
Okay.
So Sabrina, you're saying they have the one chance, and if they're the second time, they're terminated?
Yes, ma'am. That's the way it is currently.
Yeah.
And has historically always been.
That's a one.
Okay.
I think one of the other questions was, and I mean, I don't want to open it back up for a big discussion, was, is there a timeline, so many years past, that employee can maybe try to re-enter the workplace?
The first attempt.
I mean, that was the sticking point as far.
I think the state gives them 5 years. After 5 years. reapply. They may never get the job, they can reapply.
If what I'm hearing is the alderman, does the alderman approach you, you're for the, what the current alderman Dore, alderman McCoy? Are you, would you like to consider something different? We'll put two different ones to vote.
I say it should never outlive an administration's term.
Administration might, well, I'll see if somebody's got a drug problem, regardless of who's mayor, I think it puts the people today at risk regardless of who's mayor.
Well, we had a situation when we walked in, a situation that should have been seen as one, but
I don't know what you're talking about, but
we can't discuss that. That was some historical data that led you to believe that it was more than, after much discussion, we realized that, you know, one accident that happened during your term, and one that happened 12 years ago during
Former administration.
But still, regardless of who's mayor, I mean.
Can I ask this, was there records on that, is what you're saying? There was records showing that it actually happened, right?
we had that discussion.
Yeah.
Now, this discussion was last meeting about the bill returning.
Tron, can I offer one thing, the only thing, just a thought?
Mine was just to put in, I just put something in.
I understand, but the only thing I want to ask about that is, if you got 4 months left in the term, and somebody has their first offense, you're saying, I'm trying to get clear in my head, after 4 months, that it go away because it's another term? I'm trying to understand.
What I'm saying is this, and whole can of worms open back up now, because we went through the individual with the problem, offering him assistance, back to work after testing, and we got a good employee. All right. His clock needs to start over, because this policy manual will have a tendency to change again with another administration. And the policy manual might work toward the favor of that employee. So I wouldn't want his or her future with the new administration based on the mistake that he made at the end of the last mayor's or the last board's.
I understand.
And I can't find a good way to put that.
I understand. I just need to understand. I got you.
We do need to move along for the decision on it. Alderman Betts, what was your proposal? Understand? Alderman Gordon?
I said 5 years. I brought it down to 5 years. I mean, 5 years, pretty much. After 5 years, that is the time frame for them, you know, a 5-year gap period.
Council, to resolve this, should we just throw up each one of the scenarios that's brought up and just ask for a
Somebody
recommendation?
make a motion to see if it passes.
Yeah.
Is that?
Now, are we making a motion just on this one item?
Just on that one item?
Trying to decide that one, because you gotta start somewhere.
You mean within the drug policy, or just as part of it? Yeah, just a part of it.
Yeah,
Part of it.
That's just whether there's a reset or not after the second offense. That's it. So I heard at the end of a term, just 2 chances and that's it, and then 5 years. So
What's the consensus among the department heads?
I'd say leave it like it is.
Like it is.
yeah, there's 2 like it is.
I think it's been changed. I think it's like it is.
Joe.
Well, I mean, I think the police department's held to a higher standard and the public wants to hold to a higher standard, so I don't even like the fact of the second offense, period. I mean,
That's your own policy as far as that's concerned. You got your own policy, man.
yes, sir.
And you handle it as you see fit. But as far as the rest of the department heads back there, leave it like it is?
Right.
Right.
You had I'm really interested to hear your comment.
I disagree. I think, I don't know about the man he's talking about that's been hired back and is an A1 employee.
I didn't say that.
But no, wait a
Hired
minute.
back.
But I mean, I wasn't, if he's back, when we get
He's
the
not
new
back.
policy, oh, he's not back.
No.
He's not back. I think a 1992 rule book needs to be changed and replaced to 2017. And I do believe there should be restrictions. A felon can't vote no more, and I think he doesn't get to have 2 felons, he gets to have 1. But I think it needs to be a tighter rein on these employees. Because they know our neighborhood, and if they into drugs or if they're into illegal whatever, I don't want them up and down my road.
Well, that's what they're agreeing to. I think.
We're agreeing with you.
So overall.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, I guess I'll put it, as far as the current policy says, the second chance, and after that is termination. And I see a show of hands of how many support that rule from the Alderman. Show of hands.
As is.
As it is.
All right. Pardon? The current policy. Yeah. Okay, we got 4. 1 was brought up 5 years. All right, we're going to right now go forward with it, showing the current, what we're doing now, second chance termination. Okay. All right, number 15 on this is page 37, 38, driving records, discuss procedure for MVRs. We have the, if you don't have your copy from last time, we brought some more. Do you have your copy from that? Suggested language issued by Alderman Dorey suggested this language, page 37 to 38. Any questions? We're almost through.
And the suggested language is that as the duties often require the operation of heavy equipment, the town would ask the PD to run MVRs and clue reports on an annual basis, and action should result for habitual offenders. Chief, would that be something that y'all would be able to do for us, or is there a cost associated with that?
We already do it with our people, and we could do it with everybody. We do it here.
Any questions?
This is one thing that I do want to know about, is if you do find that infraction, that they haven't reported that their driver's license are suspended, or that they have 2 DUI, what's the consequence?
Well, the consequences, if I would say they couldn't drive, I would say you remove them from being able to operate any machinery.
But it's also a fact that they are supposed to report that to their immediate department head, right? Aren't they supposed to report any infractions to y'all?
Well, I mean, if they can't perform the duty to drive,
And there's nothing else.
they gotta get it fixed before they.
Right, but I'm saying if they don't, there's people out there that don't report they lost their license, I guarantee you, that come to work and drive. How
Yeah,
much you gonna pay?
and that's a good point. It's a good point because you got somebody who might have not paid a ticket and had his license suspended. You don't know that either, but he's driving every day.
Also, child support.
Child support,
Failure to pay insurance?
There's a lot of things that can get your license
So-
pulled, and you're supposed to report that to your department head. Now, this is gonna eliminate a lot of that, and what's the consequences of them not? And that needs to be made very clear to the employees of this town.
If we're gonna go in that direction, we should require that they do yearly checks, because a lot of times you don't even know if you
That's
check.
right.
That's what we're talking about. What was proposed originally said that MVRs will be run on drivers at the time of hire and when events indicate a need.
If I'm not mistaken, when we renewed our insurance, did we send all the driver's license on all of our people? Department heads turned in all of our drivers, and I think the insurance company runs those. Yeah.
One term.
That's what I'm asking.
We got done.
Did y'all hear that?
So they do actually turn them in
The
to their
insurance company, we turn
department
in
heads
everybody.
once a year.
Everybody that operates, we turn that in to our insured carrier, because they want to know too.
Right.
And they look at that, and they base your risk based on those drivers, that block of drivers out there. then kind of find that. They run them themselves, they don't necessarily take the, you know,
That's once a year.
once a year. So,
That's good.
But yeah, so what I was suggesting is replace the sentence that says they'll be run at the time of hire with, we are gonna run them annually.
At the time of hire
A lot of
and,
things can happen. as
Right.
well.
and be run
but this,
and we're gonna do it rather than worry about the insurance. They're gonna do it.
well, it'll be done twice. We'll know who's got what.
Like, we'll put it on a 6 month, how about that?
But then again, after that, if there's somebody out there that's got a suspended license, they can't be driving, but you can, if that's their job, that'll be another issue that we'll have to work out with department heads on what to do.
The police department and the CDL drivers will go once a year. They have to have this.
So basically, y'all okay with the wording way it is and just work within that? Is that right?
As proposed, or?
That's what you're saying there, they're on the drive.
Yes, mine.
Annually,
Huh?
with being checked annually.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have it run opposite 6 months, because the insurance company does it 6 months later, we do it, so they're actually checking it.
6 months.
Y'all okay with that? Okay. All right, let's move on. Number 16, tobacco use discussion specified tobacco-free areas to include city vehicles. As you know, that's probably gonna be I don't think I've ever smoked a cigarette in my life, but I don't know, somebody might smoke. I don't know if there's any smoking going on in our vehicles now, but what's established right now in the policy doesn't establish what those areas are, I don't think, as it relates to vehicles. And I would like comment from the department heads on this as well, as far as when it comes to tobacco use in city vehicles.
My personal view is I smoked for 25 years and quit, so my personal view is there's no smoking in department vehicles and have designated areas outside of buildings for them to smoke.
Anybody else?
I don't know of any of mine that smoke in the vehicle. Do you?
So do we want to establish that the city vehicle included to be a free area, a smoke-free area? Is that?
Yes, sir.
Is that what I'm hearing? Okay, all right. Any question on that? Okay, yes. Alderman Best has a good point. He's saying tobacco-free, not just smoking, not just cigarette. Tobacco-free would be dipping, chewing.
Will that be all city vehicles? Each department?
City vehicle, it's a city vehicle. Says tobacco-free. Any questions? Okay, so y'all want to leave that, to include tobacco use in the, include our city vehicles?
My only question is, if they get caught doing it, then what's the?
Yeah, same thing.
Then they go before their
With
supervisor.
oversight, pardon?
I have a few that weren't on the list you
Okay.
One of the things that we talked about, and I mentioned this in the meeting that I had with y'all, is the Departmental Oversight Committee has been defined in your policy manual as the mayor, the alderman liaison of the department, and department head and the city manager. Since the city manager is not a permanent position, I do not believe that they should, that the city manager should be included in the Departmental Oversight Committee. Future administrations who have to work under this policy manual may choose not to have a city manager. And by having this wording in here, we will be forcing them to go through the same process and expense that we've had to go through to change it.
By the way, it matters not to me. It matters not to me.
Right, and we have discussed that at a meeting, and I'm not sneaking this in on you.
I mean, it was to have more bodies there, but either way, it doesn't matter to me.
I don't
Make
see,
my life easier.
I don't see the detriment of having it there to form it. I mean, I could certainly ask him in as far as just because he is a city manager who oversees a lot of things.
Right, and you could absolutely do that, but to put it in the wording for future administrations who may not choose to have a city manager.
You want to put an employee of the mayor's choice?
That's an idea. That'd be a good word. I mean, yeah, I mean, he could pick it for, I mean, that's another person. If you want another person, that's an idea.
I think we're splitting hairs, but that's all right. I mean, it's-
I'm just saying, I'm taking the language out. That's a problem.
That give you that other budget.
I'm fine with that, if that's what y'all want to do.
What's wrong with the three? What's wrong with the mayor and the alderman and the department?
There's nothing wrong with that, but usually sometimes it's another opinion. I'm certainly been one to listen to other opinions. You know, sometimes you can get two people to think alike, they can overpower one.
That's kind of what, the thinking was about having a city manager and you as part of the department oversight.
Well, I can speak from the current city manager and the mayor you've got. We're completely independent in our thought and our opinions, and we discuss them at length. And sometimes there's even more people than that involved in decision making, which, yeah, you might not be guaranteed you'll have that relationship in the future. That's true. So I don't have a problem with that, but I certainly right now in this particular case there's not, that doesn't exist, I promise you. So, but anyway, whatever y'all want to do. I mean, this is, you want to remove the city manager from being in that oversight, I'm fine with that. But don't be shocked if he sits in on it. Okay? Any other, do you have anything?
Well, I think four opinions is good. Lord, you have the five might even be good. In the public schools, we had five that were on, yes.
All right, what else?
Usually have
On the door, it has another question.
On page 31, and this was something we had discussed again in our meeting. On page 31, it states, if you refuse to comply with the policy, talking about drug testing, you will be subject to immediate termination. And I feel like if you're failing to comply with the drug test, you should be immediately terminated. It's not, that should be clear and simple. If you fail to comply with your drug or alcohol screening when scheduled,
I
you will
agree
be
with that. I
terminated.
mean, that's fine. I thought doesn't say that.
It's in there.
It says you will be subject to immediate termination, which means that,
Consideration.
yeah, you might be terminated, you might not. You'll be subject to it. And I think we should be very clear and concise. If you fail to take a drug test, you're gone.
Well, I would say that I would leave it like it is. I mean, there's chances are that would probably be it, because if they had an accident, we're not willing to submit to follow policy, yeah, that's immediate, that's insubordination, that'd be termination.
Well, that's what she's saying, change. Only,
But
I agree, I would like to be sure this came from attorneys, I just want to be sure there wasn't a reason why they said something.
Well, that's another thing I'm thinking. Have there been instances that their rights were violated, if there was something happening that we required?
Most of them will read, if you have them, most of them will read.
Immediate termination.
They'll say, you will be such and such and up to termination. That's the way mine always read when I was working, and up to termination.
I'm sure, there might be instances, I don't know about this, I'm not an attorney, but there might be an instance in there where there's something that happened that you require you terminated, and you open your town to liability. Now, I agree. Let's leave it like it is. I don't want to hold this thing up anymore. I mean, we keep it down the road.
All right, on page 39, restriction on use of city vehicles. When we're talking about bringing the vehicles back to the lot at night, I think we need to add the sentence, except the police department, because this policy manual should not govern what the police department does with their vehicles.
I think that's why they've been operating.
Well,
Again, now, the chief has his own policy manual.
Where is that?
What page?
Page 39, restrictions on use of city vehicles.
Oh, okay.
I think it also states in there somewhere, we'd have to go back and find it, where anything used in emergency response is.
That's how it's read.
Huh?
That's how it's read. That's exactly how it's read.
Is there somewhere, it's just that, I mean, if it's an emergency response unit, that they have that, and then they're on, especially if they're on call or anything like that, they would certainly be able to take those units on.
Well, we can stipulate those things in here, if that's what the board would rather we do.
Policy manual?
I mean, that's what Soprano's basically asking, I
You
think.
just have to make it point blank clear, right? That's what you be trying to make it.
I don't know of any units outside of the,
There's no exception to say that in these policies, you make a paragraph that would say, except where these policies conflict with the police manual and the police manual will control.
Perfect.
our fire.
Yeah.
Or whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's great. That's a great way to cover all the bases to differentiate between the different handbooks for the different departments that have them.
And just for information, our officer that takes the vehicle home are a certified police officer. They're not part-time.
Right.
They are certified.
Okay. Whatever.
On page 48, we talked about salary administration. This was a little bit more cleanup that I had missed in that original meeting that we had. The first paragraph under salary administration, number 4, we have previously discussed that Mayor Crafter's removing the incentive payments. Does this number 4 tie into those incentive payments, and should number 4 be removed? It was not included in the original handbook.
It should be removed.
Okay.
Yes.
And then also on here, in the second paragraph, when we're talking about merit increases, on the same page 48, previously it stated that merit raises will be approved by the mayor and the board, since this is a fiscal function, and it has been removed, it's been changed to say that it will be approved by the mayor and would go into effect once the Board of Aldermen made changes to the budget and any necessary appropriation. I think that the board, since it is a financial decision, should still be included with that. And then when we reach the approval, we can then at that time make an amendment to the budget.
Well, all approved merit raises will be made effective for the first word pay period following approval by the mayor and any necessary appropriation of monies by the Board of Aldermen. Said the same.
It does.
Really doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
It says
It really
appropriation, if it
doesn't.
requires appropriation of monies, I would have to approve it. As far as raises go, it is explicit, it says, I would recommend the raise, but I would do that in conjunction with the request of the department heads, and listen to them, with the employees they know, who are the ones that they rely on and doing the work. And I would certainly support that, and if it's not in the budget, let's say, for example, that they had somebody that they lost, they didn't replace, and he came to me with a merit increase, somebody, picked that up, and he wanted to raise somebody $1, and the money was already in his budget for that salary missing, yes, I would probably do that. I would, probably approve that merit increase. But if it required any appropriation of funds over and above what was already budgeted, yes, I would have to come back to y'all to get approval for that.
In the policy handbook that we're operating under currently, it talks about, I'm gonna find just this sentence. That the mayor and the board of aldermen will establish monies to be allocated to pay increases. And this is changing that.
For example, I'm gonna be recommending pay raises for our employees, and there's gonna be a block of money out there that I'm gonna have to come to y'all to get approved. But I am the one that recommends the pay raises, and that will be based on investigation with the department heads and the different ones, the supervisors. And what that raise is gonna be, I can't arbitrarily just wave my wand and do that. I have to come back to the council to get approval, to appropriate funds to make those raises. I don't.
If additional funds are necessary, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. If additional funds are necessary, you have to come back before the board, but you can make a raise, you can give a raise without board approval if money is already there. And what I'm stating is that for the better checks and balances, wouldn't it be simpler to allow what has always been done in the past, that any raise is also a consideration of the board since it deals with financials?
If you've already budgeted that money, Alderman Doré, is setting in that budget, you've approved monies for that. If you're getting into wanting to manage and who gets what and raises to approve it, you're starting to interfere with the everyday operation of handling employees. If you've already appropriated money for that.
That's right.
I mean, council, correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, is that correct?
My appreciation, Mayor.
Pardon?
That's my appreciation of the law.
Okay.
Of the law, you said? You said that's your appreciation of the law?
I'll be clear. I believe that's the law that the mayor just spoke.
Okay. A leave of absence was not mentioned in the proposed handbook. There was no terminology in here about a leave of absence.
Okay.
Was that removed for a reason?
It wasn't removed, it didn't come with the existing handbook, it was in the old handbook. But the one that was drafted, it wasn't changed by anybody here. Again, leave of absence, and I think this is probably what's coming up here later that y'all want to discuss, is, again, we've researched that since the request was made, and I'll defer to council again. He's researched that. And again, about leaves of absence, in your opinion, I mean, are you dealing with the leave of absence as far as with an employee?
Well, it's in your personnel handbook. It's whatever y'all
Well,
decide to have.
and that's what the spring is saying, they didn't address it, these people that we got to give us our draft, which would lead me to think, obviously, it's gotta be approved, and somebody can just go on leave of absence, but there's not anything here stipulating what the process is for that, that's what I think.
The old one, you've got the old one. What does it state?
It says the mayor and the alderman.
Have to approve it.
So just implement from the old one to the new one in those same forms.
Is that okay?
I don't mind, whatever y'all want to do.
What y'all want to put in?
So it's
But it wasn't
we just
taken
want-
out, it was just not, they never sent it.
Right.
Just needs to be added back in.
Yeah.
I think that leave of absence policy, because of certain things, it needs to be added back in. I mean, that's an important.
I agree that we probably need to state something with a leave of absence because somebody may need to take one.
Right.
But there again, I think that's an administrative.
And a case-by-case basis.
And,
Right, but it's, what's wrong with including, again, the alderman in it? Because of the fact that it does affect our city. I mean, it can, you know. We found that out.
Again, if that's what y'all want to do, I mean, I'm fine with that.
We'll make that change.
There was also a stipulation in the old handbook that I did not find in the new, and it may be in here, and correct me if I'm wrong, regarding suspensions. It stated any employee suspended for any reason 2 times during any 12-month period is automatically dismissed. And that wordage is not included in the proposed handbook that we have.
That'd be up to y'all if you want to handle it that way. I don't know that.
And my question again.
Without knowing what the
department heads,
reasons are, it's hard to say what to do.
My question to department heads, have you ever had that come up, 2 suspensions in 1 year?
No.
Would that be something that y'all would like in place? or
Well,
not
there's,
like in place?
there's a lot of language in that, in the existing handbook, and you can have, it just depends on the situation. You know, you give them counseling, just talk to them, or you can give them days off suspension. So it's all case by case with me.
What if we put something on, Mayor, I'm sorry, but if we put something where a second suspension could result in termination?
Yeah, and
then it's a management thing based on what the situation is, whether it's even the same thing that had to do with, you know, it could be a totally, I mean, that's my opinion. It sounds like Mark would like to manage that. I don't know how Lee feels about it.
Mr. Morris, would you prefer that this wordage be completely left out of the handbook, or that it be
Well,
included?
if it's just saying up to, that would be fine.
Okay.
But usually,
You still decide.
Up to? Okay. That is on page 63 of the existing, if we can add that in. Is the other, y'all agree with that?
Aren't we dealing with a situation, don't we have a situation now, Lee? Something similar to what we're talking about?
I don't think we can talk about that here.
We're not gonna talk about it, but don't we have a situation similar to that?
Yes, sir.
And I think the biggest one is the change to vacation, to use it or lose it. And I think that's been the one that I have heard the most from the employees in the town that they are concerned the most with. And I would like the board to at least discuss other options other than just the strict use it or lose it as pertains to vacation time only.
Can I comment? I mean, I can give you my, it's been a practice of the town. The policy, the old policy did not permit, it was misread and misinterpreted. They accounted for vacation time and personal time, and they set limits on it. They accounted for people's time, and as years of service and hours of service, they accumulated vacation time, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it might be. Personal time as well. They would accumulate so many days. It became practice, not policy, that the administration at the time was letting them accumulate all this vacation time. I'm talking 800 days. I mean, crazy stuff that they're going to compensate those people for. If you don't have a vacation policy in place where you use it or lose it, you are accumulating a liability that one day this town can't write the check for.
That's right.
Vacations are for people to go refresh themselves, to take time off. Now, if we can't allow them that time, then that's on us. But to let them accumulate all this vacation time and them show up one day and say, oh, you owe me my money, I'm fixing to head south. I mean, that's going to be a big check. And that's not, I don't think, the intent or the spirit of that policy. It was interpreted, and it's cost the town to handle it that way because, let's say, I'm going to take us an employee's been here for 40 years. He can leave, he can receive a paycheck, okay, for years to come of all this accumulated time. And I don't think that's a good practice.
I don't either. I don't think that is a good practice either.
Well, that's what you use that vacation. If you got 3 weeks, use it. That's for you to take.
Sabrina, what do the employees think that this is doing?
Whenever I want to speak. Yes, sir.
Because the ones I've talked to did not understand that we're not taking that away.
Right, and originally, that's what they were afraid of, was that
We never said we was taking their vacation. Look, matter of fact, I wanted to pay for this. Oh, go ahead, Ms. Dory, I'm sorry, but I wanted to get to people. We're looking at maybe conference starting so we don't get hit with a lump sum of people. Let's all say, hey, we're all taking our vacation. Nobody shows up to do your services. I want to start compensating them that maybe 1 week or 2 weeks a year so we can handle it financially. We're not taking it away from them.
I know, that's what I suggested to y'all in that meeting.
That's right. Well,
That was the- yeah.
we've been talking about it.
Yeah, you know, going forward, you were right, that the original fear was that, I think there was even a rumor that stated that before you could get any new vacation time, you had to use up all your old vacation time.
That's what these people recommended and we didn't.
Right,
No.
so, and I know that it has evolved, and as, you know, that has been explained to these employees, they're a little more receptive of it. But one of the things that was brought to me, and I thought that at least we should discuss and consider, is that, you know, a vacation time is a benefit, while it does not have any monetary value, and I understand that, and I understand the wording that you have in here, it is part of the package that we give. And there are some companies out there that if you do not, as of the 31st of the year, use your vacation time, you can receive that time as a check. Now, this administration has done away with the incentive payments and made other changes. And I felt like perhaps something that we could discuss is any unused days for the current year, not any accrued, not any held over, but the current year, if the city would consider doing a buyback of about 50% or 50% of those days.
That would be just in that year.
Just in that year.
Can we see what we're talking about dollar wise? You want to make that decision without knowing what money you're spending?
Well, if, you know, that was my original, but if the mayor just stated that y'all are considering paying back some of that accrued a week at a time, which is something that we had discussed in that meeting when we went over this handbook, I'm okay with that.
And we're also not going to take away the incentive pay.
Okay.
You said not?
Not going to take away the incentive. We're going to, so we've talked about doing it.
You're not gonna do it in the other way. You're not gonna do it.
It's not going to be called incentive pay.
Not gonna be called incentive pay.
No. It's going to
Incentive
be
pay is very,
reiteration.
bonuses, incentive payments, incentive payment programs are very complex. And we are not set up to handle that the way it is.
But he does, Mayor Kraft does have an idea in which to restore some of that back to the employees, which I've talked to him.
And I hope to have that discussion with the alderman, also with the ordinance for the electric, and be making a recommendation, because I didn't want to bring something tonight that I know I was going to get shot down on as far as raises are concerned. So I'd rather have discussions with them during this next month, and one-on-one, two-on-two, come up with something that they can accept as far as a pay increase for employees.
One other thing I want to bring up, and I brought it up in the last meeting, but we didn't get it, is a vacation roster circulated first of the year instead of doing it 2 weeks as request. The situation, there are certain situations that we're aware of now that could affect that. I still say that we need to come up with a policy where, or put it in there somehow, where you pass that roster, seniority person gets that piece of paper, and you take that piece of paper, give it to the senior person, they know what week they want, they get it. There's a situation right now that we're dealing with that could make that person who wanted this week in the future may not be able to get that week, because of a certain situation right now that's taking place. But I still say it gives the department heads an outlook as to who's going to be off in the future. It gives that person confidence he's going to get that vacation, and it gives him plenty of time to plan. I mean,
You talk about a year ahead?
you get it in January, you pass it out, and you
People
hand
don't know
it.
what they're gonna do a year ahead of time.
Oh, yeah, they do. I've done it, I did it, and everybody, most everybody you talk to, maybe not here, but go to a company and see.
What if that senior person can't make up his mind, he can skip it?
You pass, he doesn't have to, he passes, that's his choice, he's got to go, but he
Senior
can
person
choose.
always have first choice.
First choice.
Then none of the other employees ever get the
That's
prime
what part of
position. So
seniority
that's
is.
not, but that's not fair.
That's fair.
No, it's not.
That's your.
Because you're a senior doesn't mean that,
It's
that
not a union.
every
What?
year
Not
you
fair.
get Christmas and nobody else does.
Let me ask.
That's just a suggestion, it gives the employee, and it also gives management an outlook.
Let-
And Ricky Knapp can attest to that.
Let me ask,
Right.
Mark and Lee, I guess, and Joey, have y'all had problems with scheduling vacations?
I've never had a problem with anybody competing for a vacation, say Christmas time or something like that, or Easter, or any kind of a vacation holiday time. We've never had anybody, saying, well, I've been here long enough, I've never had that problem.
And I know, back when I worked at the bank, they did that, they called it an etched in stone, they started with the highest, they did the pecking order down. And they
But that's
did-
just a suggestion,
And
it's
that's-
fine, if they want to leave it like that, that's fine.
But-
It gives you an insight to see who's going to be off.
That-
And the way we work, we have so many people that just, on the spur of the moment, I need to be off Thursday, or I need to be off,
Well, that's called incidental leave,
Right.
this is scheduled leave.
This is maybe, I think, inter-department thing that we can work out, I think, amongst them.
That's fine.
Instead of making it hard. Okay, anything else on the personnel policy?
Mayor, I got a question.
Okay.
On the, page 47, the evaluation policy. Performance review and merit increases. Merit increases, that's money. Calling that merit increase. Give the, I don't know what you're gonna call it, not to call it stipend, bonus, or what
part are you looking at?
Come on down.
On 47?
47 evaluation policy.
Okay. I think a lot of the department heads come to me at different times anyway, if they have somebody they want to recommend for a merit increase. It's not been much, but sometimes it has been, and it might be just a small adjustment or something. But I imagine your evaluation goes on a daily basis, not just for 6 months. Now, I know there's a lot of people that want to set up an evaluation policy. I mean, if it's in here, we can set up a formal evaluation. There's pros and cons to evaluation. Is the person who's doing evaluating, is he qualified to evaluate? Is it a supervisor who might have a go-getter under him, we're trying to bump him for his job being a go-getter? Is he going to get any good evaluations that influence? There's a lot of different things that come into it that's pros and cons. And, we elect to do this, if there's a policy sitting there, it's in our policy, we can try to implement something. Or at least if they do some kind of review, employee review, and let them know if there's something they're not doing satisfactory. But to say what that's going to cost and how much that compensation is going to be, I don't think it's something we should do, or can do.
Well, that goes right into you being able to give raises.
That's right. And you don't have, and if it's going to require an appropriation of funds, I have to get approved. All right, any other question on the employment?
Page 49, that's in the very top paragraph, deals strictly with the performance incentive payment.
Which one?
Page 49, the very top paragraph.
I thought we took that.
I thought we took that whole.
I thought we did too.
I know that we discussed it when we met, but unless I have skimmed over this incorrectly, it's not on this list, so I just wanted to make sure that.
He's supposed to be taking it out.
Okay.
We'll take it out. I don't know how we missed that, but sorry.
Anything else? we've reviewed the policy. We've discussed, yeah, I'd like to have a motion.
I make a motion that we pre-filed. Ordinance with the changes.
Does this require an ordinance?
No, it does not.
Does it?
I checked last week, and most municipalities don't do ordinances for policy manuals because it costs so much to publicize them and run them in the paper.
All right, well, I'm interested. I'm just making a motion to approve it with the changes.
That we adopt this policy with the changes made and.
I think it
and
needs to be
everything.
pending the approval of the attorney that's created the policy in the beginning also.
Okay. Is that satisfactory? Is that a motion? You want to style your motion to do that? That's, she said pending the approval of the attorney who drafted this for us with the changes, final approval on that. Is that satisfactory? Okay, got a motion by Alderman Best. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Gardner. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Was that all ayes?
No. Hey.
Alderman McCoy, that record reflect his and no.
Sure it is.
Okay, we're getting close. Last month, we wanted to pre-file an ordinance to set our salaries for the mayor, board, alderman, city clerk, and the chief of police. This is to get the town in compliance. It's a requirement for an ordinance to be in place for us to be in compliance with state law. And this is setting this ordinance for our current salaries. At that time, the alderman requested 10 years of history on these different salaries and payments. They will produce that, and I'm here back tonight to, they also have a copy of that will be filled in with those amounts. And I'm asking for them to get our town in compliance and let's accept these salaries.
Board, Mayor, if I might.
Okay.
I wanted to apologize to the board. I thought I had given this to the town earlier and did not. And so the figures are not in there because I didn't have them at the office. But I understand y'all know what they are anyway. So.
Any questions?
For me, the word fixed is like it's said. So every ongoing year, whether it's the mayor, whether it's the clerk, whether it's police chief, whoever it may be, will be allowed those set amount of allocated funds each year, regardless if the board agrees or disagrees to it. I personally don't think that it should maybe be fixed or it should be set in stone, because somebody else may come in and we may not feel, or whoever the board is may not feel that the mayor or the police chief should be getting those funds in that high amount of money to say.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Go ahead.
The state law, the Larson Act, the language says that the Board of Aldermen shall, by ordinance, fix the compensation of the mayor, the alderman, the clerk, and the chief of police. It's in the act. I can't change the language. And it fixes it for the term of that administration. Yes.
When can it be unfixed then?
By unfixed, you mean what?
I mean, it would be voted on again in the next administration, is what you're saying?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So each time it will be redone.
And the compensation for the mayor for the next term will be whatever it is when they get elected.
Right.
Is that just the
So-
mayor? That's not just the
Mayor
mayor.
So
and
at
police
this
chief.
point, what you're saying, in other words, is fixed. But I'm saying, what if you
Yes.
wanted to decrease so the mayor would know, or the alderman would know, or whoever would know, because we get complaints about how much aldermen make out of this people out here. And then we get
Alderman
complaints
Close,
about how much.
get the mayor to authorize me to
So
research
we
that, I
wanted to
will.
decrease our salary.
Yeah, I have not researched that.
what would take place, because I asked Mayor Kraft.
I'm saying, I haven't researched it, I would think probably would take an ordinance before the end of the term.
That's what I'm asking, and that's what I asked you.
But I haven't, I'm saying I
But he
hadn't
said he
researched
didn't
that
know,
since.
you know, and I said he was gonna look into it, but he hadn't had time to really do it.
Well,
yet.
I mean, it says that you cannot lower the police chief, elected police chief, and the mayor's salary. You can increase or decrease, I think, your own or the clerk's. I think that's the way it reads, and if I'm not mistaken. we can
But for
verify
tonight,
it,
if
but-
I can, for tonight, when this administration was sworn in July, these salaries were fixed. And all this ordinance does is bring us in compliance with the state law that says we should have done that back in July of 16. That's all this
So it
does.
should have been done immediately.
Yes.
And we just didn't do it.
I just want to say something. When my husband became mayor, his salary was fixed for 4 years, as I understand it, under the Larson Act.
We just haven't done it, but
And,
this is gonna.
and maybe you're a year late doing it, but it is fixed for that 4 years as far as I know. I was re-iced that from, what is it, Louisiana Municipal, whatever, LMA.
Based on my interpretation of the Larson Act, is that I agree we have to do something tonight to get in compliance, but if we do intend to change, we can do that by ordinance, but it would not go into effect until the beginning of the next term. Now, there are 2 AG opinions in the Larson Act that discuss it as per decreases in elected official salaries. One says that it has to be done at least 1 year prior to the next election. One states that it has to be 2 years prior to the next election for a decrease. That is based on my interpretation of the Larson Act.
But
Help me
that's
with my
decreases.
research.
Right.
Sir?
Cindy,
I
help me
think
with my
that
research.
as employees of the city of Vidalia, the alderman, the mayor, they're all city employees. If you're gonna decrease salaries for the mayor and the alderman, you need to do a blanket and decrease salaries for all employees, not just a certain few. Because all of them are employees of the city. Well, that's my point. That's my point. If you're gonna decrease their salaries, it's gotta be a blanket.
That's her opinion, no other comment, she said her piece. I mean, that's her opinion.
I'll have to jump in again. The mayor and the board are not employees of the town. They're elected officials and appointed officials. The statute makes a difference. They're not classified as employees.
And I think, Robert, kind of what you were talking about, correct me if I'm wrong, is that if a new mayor comes into a position that has been held by a previous mayor for decades.
40 years.
Right, and that pay had been earned, a newly elected perhaps would not start out at the pay, at the rate of pay. Is that what you were alluding to?
That's incorrect as well.
If it hadn't been reduced.
If it hasn't been changed.
Because cost of living, you go back and look at what that mayor was making 20 years ago and bring it up to today's standards, it would be the same.
Well, I mean, I'll be glad to talk about it. You know, when I decided to run for mayor, I saw what the salary was. And I thought that the town needed a change. And I'd like to think that I'm doing a way better job than the previous administration did. And I feel like I deserve it. I will say this, the previous administration did not receive health insurance to the tune of, I think it was $12,000 a year. I elected not to take it. I didn't want to cost the town, because if I took the health insurance, it would cost the town $18,000 for me to do that. Now, the aldermen, some of them have requested me to take a pay cut. I think 10% has been thrown around to show good faith, good faith. All right, I didn't take the insurance, okay, that's $8,300. If I can take that cut, well, the next day I walk in and say, I want health coverage, and costs the town $18,000 rather than $8,300. So, you know, I'm trying to do my job, and I think we've done it good, and I think we've done it great. And to insinuate, and if you want to go in 3 years and set the say, you don't know what's going to be going on in 3 years, where the payment's going to be. All right, I might be tired of this and I want to run again. Is that what you're trying to do, is maybe hamstring to whoever might decide to run? Is that what it might be? And again, if y'all want me to take a cut, I will do this. I will consider the cut, okay? For 10%, if y'all do the same, and the aldermen who take the insurance to the tune of $18,000 apiece a year, y'all give that up, I'll consider the 10% decrease.
There you go. Well said, Mayor, well said.
I don't want to get it, but we're here tonight just to do this.
Since it's gotten that person, council, didn't you say that you want the mayor to authorize you to look into that before we vote on that?
Look into what?
This ordinance.
No, this ordinance is clear.
So we need to go ahead and. I'm talking.
No.
What did you say, council? We need to do this tonight.
What we're doing is we are introducing this ordinance tonight
That we should have done.
in July of 16.
Okay.
And we're going to publish it by the 27th of September, this ordinance. Then on the 10th of October, at the October meeting, we will have a public hearing, like we did on the thing for the sale of the properties. And at the close of that, then we can vote to adopt this ordinance, and we'll be back in compliance with the Larson Act.
Okay.
But one thing, again, that made it clear to me is it doesn't matter. I mean, because it's set for 4 years. I mean, right now, at this point, it's set for 4 years, and the AG opinions are 1 to 2 years if you want to try to change it for the next administration. Nothing about this administration, so basically it's cut and dry.
Right.
You see, once the budget was approved, finally,
We just didn't
these
do it
things, and in fact, once money started to be paid in accordance with those prior salaries, then that was the end of it. You know, they're set.
I think anybody agrees.
Any other questions? Do I hear a motion, we pre-file the ordinance, set the salaries?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Alderman Best, do I hear a second?
I'll say.
Second by Alderman Garner. All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay. Alderman McCoy is a no. Is that correct?
Oh, I'm in favor.
Oh, okay. Didn't raise your hand, didn't raise your hand. There we go.
Okay. Just at this point, as was showing, one of the aldermen requesting an executive session. I will say that it's probably not going to be an action item. Thank you for attending tonight, and be safe. You're welcome to stick around till we come back out and adjourn. But, do I hear a motion to go into executive session?
I make that motion.
Motion made by Alderman Doyle, second by Alderman Pope, all in favor? Okay, we will, I'm going to ask. Right, all back here, do I hear a motion we exit executive session?
I make a motion we exit.
Motion by Alderman Probst. Second by Alderman Gardner, all in favor? Do I hear a motion we adjourn?
I make that motion.
Motion made by Alderman McCoy,
Second.
Alderman Probst, all in favor?
Aye.
Woo! Adjourn.